Hello friends, and welcome back to another virtual story time with Miss Liz. Today we are rounding out our month of celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Today's story is from a Filipino author who writes about some of her own experiences cooking in the kitchen with her mother. This book is based on those experiences. It's called Cora Cooks Pancit. It's by Dorina K, Lazo Gilmore, and illustrated by Kristi Valiant. And as you can see from the cover, pancit is a delicious Filipino noodle dish. And that is what the main character is going to learn how to make in this story, along with learning some history of her own family. Here we go. Cora Cooks Pancit by Dorina K. Lazo Gilmore, illustrated by Kristi Valiant. Cora loved the kitchen. She loved to drink in the smells of Mama's Filipino dishes. Cora's older sisters and brother often helped with the cooking. They got the grown-up jobs like shredding the chicken or mixing noodles in the pot. They sliced vegetables and rolled lumpia into tidy egg roll shapes. Cora was stuck with kid jobs like drawing pictures in the flour or licking spoons. She longed to be a real cook. Do you see Cora down here? She's sitting against the wall, she's licking a spoon, and she's watching the rest of her family in the kitchen. And she really wants to be more involved in what they are doing. One day, Cora's 3 older sisters headed to the mall, and her brother darted outside with his baseball glove. And now was her chance. Cora popped her head around the corner. "What are we making today, Mama?" Mama wiped her hands on the front of her red apron. She put her hands on her hips. "What would you like to make today?" asked Mama in her buttery voice. Cora was surprised. Mama was letting her decide. She scrunched up her nose and began to think, and all her favorite Filipino foods danced in her head. Lines of lumpia pranced in a row. Adobo chicken legs bebopped in time. And she saw a large bowl of pancit. The thick noodles and vegetables curled and swirled in a dance party. Yum! And I think we know from the title of the book which of these things Cora really wants to make. "Will you teach me to make pancit?" she asked. "Of course," said Mama. "Would you like to wear my red apron?" Cora was a real cook now. The apron was a little too big, but it would do. Mama helped Cora tie the strings around her back and make a neat bow at her belly button. "This apron belonged to Lolo, your grandpa," said Mama. "He wore it when he first came to California. He was a cook for the Filipino farm workers who picked strawberries and grapes in the fields." And here's a picture of Lolo, Cora's grandfather. And look, he's wearing that same red apron. That is really special. "Did Lolo teach you how to cook?" Cora wanted to know. "He did," said Mama. "I followed him each day to the big kitchen. He created all kinds of dishes to fill the hungry workers' tummies. And while he cooked, he told stories about the Philippines where he was born." Cora nodded as she listened. "Lolo told us about the countryside where he grew up. His family harvested pineapples, bananas, and papayas. He used to eat smashed fried bananas and sweet rice wrapped in banana leaves." Cora stuffed her hands deep into the apron's pockets. She imagined Mama and Lolo cooking together, and she saw Lolo as a boy unwrapping the banana leaves and scooping the sweet rice from inside. See what she's imagining in her memory? This would be her Mama when she was little. Cora knew the rules in Mama's kitchen. She scrubbed her hands with soap. Mama dug in the cupboards and refrigerator for ingredients. She listed what they needed for the pancit: chicken, celery, carrots, mushrooms, onions, baby corn, cabbage, ginger, garlic, soy sauce. Wow, that's a lot of ingredients. Don't forget the noodles, said Cora. Oh yes, the noodles, said Mama. Let's get started, Mama told Cora. Open the package of rice noodles and put them in this bowl of water. Do you know why we soak the noodles? She asked. So they get soft, answered Cora. You've been paying attention, said Mama with a wink. Cora opened the package of noodles and she plopped the big clump of noodles into the bowl. Meanwhile, Mama took out some chicken she had cooked earlier. This was Mama's special stash. She used chicken for all kinds of Filipino dishes like tangon, chicken curry, and lumpia. Want to help me shred? Asked Mama. Cora's eyes grew wide. A grown-up job. She was ready. She pulled the chicken pieces apart the way her older sister Prim did. She placed them on a plate. Cora snuck a tiny bite of chicken. She rolled it to the back of her mouth before Mama noticed, and the salty taste tickled her tongue. So look, Cora's getting exactly what she always wanted, to be able to help with the grown-up jobs in Mama's kitchen. And before I read this book myself, I watched the author read it to a group of kids online, and she told me and she told everybody to pay special attention to the dog in this book. And if we look at the previous page, you see that the dog is bringing lots of toys to the table. And if we see in the future pages, the dog is going to keep on bringing special things around. So let's continue. I'll chop, said Mama. Cora arranged the vegetables in neat rows, and Mama chopped celery stalks and carrots and cabbage and onions. When Mama started slicing onions, tears ran down Cora's cheeks. She looked up and saw Mama's watery eyes. Onions make us cry, sang Mama, and they both laughed. There's something in the onions that when they're cut, the air rises up into our eyes and it makes them water, so it does look like we're crying. It doesn't hurt you, but it definitely makes your eyes water. Next, Mama took out her huge pancit pan with the shiny copper outside and big handles. The pan was deep enough to hold all the ingredients. Cora danced on her tiptoes to see inside. Mama asked Cora to step back while she added some oil and vegetables to the pan. The pot began to hiss and sizzle. Mama added spices too. Garlic and ginger and a splash of soy sauce. Yum. Cora loved the smell of garlic. And do you know why Mama asked Cora to step back? Because the pan was hot and sometimes the hot oil can pop, and she didn't want Cora to get hit with any hot oil. Always best to be very careful around hot and sharp things in the kitchen. So what happened next? Can you check the noodles, Cora? Asked Mama. Cora scratched her head. She tried to remember what her sister Sarah did when she checked the noodles. Cora thought she should sniff the noodles, but she picked up the bowl too quickly and water sloshed onto the floor. Oops. Are you making a mess? Asked Mama with pointy eyebrows. Silly Cora, you just need to touch the noodles with 2 fingers to see if they are soft. Mama laughed and handed Cora a towel to mop up the mess, and Mama went to work straining the noodles. Now for the fun part, said Mama. Let's add the noodles to the pancit pan. Can I stir? Asked Cora. She knew that stirring was another grown-up job. Yes, but be careful near the burner, called Mama, who pulled out a stool for Cora to stand on. She began to stir in a wide circle around the pan. She watched as the noodles somersaulted over the carrots and celery. She made the soft onions sway this way and that. The smell of ginger mixed with garlic floated to her nose. And a few mushrooms escaped from the pot. Oops. That night, Mama brought the food to the table. She set out a platter of adobo chicken, 2 plates of her special lumpia with dipping sauce, and a bowl of pineapple slices. Cora's brother and sisters came to the table one by one. Daddy sat in his usual spot at the head of the table. Cora watched his eyes grow wide as he checked out all the food. He licked his lips. And finally, Mama set the steaming platter of pancit in the middle of the table. There it is. "You made pancit without us," hollered Cora's brother Crispin. "Who did my job?" asked Prim. "Who checked the noodles?" Sarah needed to know. Mama replied, "Cora did all the grown-up jobs." "Really?" said Daddy. "That's my girl." Cora scrunched together her eyebrows and bit her lip while her family tasted the pancit. Did she do everything right? Would they like it? Would Mama tell everyone about the accident with the noodles? Cora is nervous because it was her first time helping in the kitchen. Let's see what everyone else thinks. "Pretty impressive," said Cora's sister Irene. Crispin chomped on a big spoonful of pancit and elbowed Cora. "Not too bad," Crispin said. Cora grinned and her eyes sparkled with delight. Daddy sat back in his chair and he said, "This tastes like your Lolo's pancit." Cora beamed with pride. "Salamat," she cried out. "Thank you." The family laughed. Cora was still wearing Mama's red apron, which was originally Lolo's red apron. And that, my friends, is the end of the story. And if you go to the end, if you check out this book or get your own copy, you can see that there's a glossary of terms that appear in the book in the language Tagalog, which is one of the more common languages spoken in the Philippines. We heard all these words today: adobo, lolo, lumpia, pancit, salamat, which means thank you, which Cora said on the previous page, and tanghon. These are all different foods and other words that are spoken in the Tagalog language. And what's on this other page here? It's Cora playing with the dog. If you notice as we read the book, the dog brought all of these toys to the table throughout the book, and now they get to play together with the purple one. It looks like a purple hippo. And finally, on the last page is a recipe. It's Lolo's pancit recipe. And now all of you, if you check out this book, or you could also Google it, you can see how to make your very own pancit. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to try it for myself one day. So that is the end. Again, that was Cora Cooks Pancit by Dorina K, Lazo Gilmore, and illustrated by Kristi Valiant. And I hope you all learned a little bit about some delicious Filipino foods in this book. Thank you all for continuing to read with me, and especially for sticking around as we highlighted some Asian American and Pacific Islander authors and illustrators this month of May. Stay tuned for more books in June, which is Pride Month, and we'll be focusing a lot on books with themes of diversity and acceptance and highlighting queer authors and illustrators. I'm really excited to continue reading with you all. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you next week in June for more great books. Thanks for watching, everybody.